So this comment is from Halapsi, posted 12 days ago. He said, "Hi mate, how is the fitment of the EW12 gearbox on the EW10? I want to install a 6-gear transmission on my C4 VTS EW10J4S. The fitment is very easy. The EW10J4 shares the same, that's manual. The EW10J4 engine, the clutch kit for that engine is the same with clutch kit that will work with the 6-speed manual gearbox. That's a 20MB06. Try to remember the model of that gearbox. 20MB06. I think that's the model. Basically the gearbox, 6-speed manual gearbox we get from the EW12J4 engine, just like we mentioned EW12. So it's the same clutch kit, so you're not changing the flywheel, you're not changing the clutch pressure plate, you're not changing the clutch friction plate, you're not changing the clutch what's it called, slave cylinder. So basically all you need is just remove the engine put, but then you need to look at the gearbox mount bracket, because they are not the same. The one from that gearbox I mentioned, the 6-speed manual gearbox, is not the same with the EW12J4 gearbox mount. So I don't know that of C4 VTS. So you may have to figure out whether I can, the bracket, whether I'll be able to fit in on the chassis or on the gearbox mount. Not the bracket, like I said, it has a bracket. There are holes. You can remove that bracket. I think what is written there is B for the EW12J4. The gearbox mount bracket that is attached on the gearbox. So if you remove that one, then you can see more holes. There are additional 2 more holes under the bracket where you can now put another type of bracket. Maybe I don't know whether that let me not say more. I don't know what the gearbox on your C4, the gearbox mount bracket, the design, what it looks like, whether I can fit in on the 20MB06 6-speed manual gearbox, so that I can be able to mount on the gearbox mount. You can be able to work with the gearbox mount on your C4. Okay, so that is one. Now number 2, where you have a problem. Where you have a problem is your CV joint will not work with the EW12J4 6-speed manual gearbox. Let me put it in a different way. Your drive shaft, both of them, the right side, the left side, will not work. Now the length, okay, let me not say the drive shaft. Drive shaft might work, but or may not. But like I said, the CV joint. Why I'm saying this is the differential, that differential side of the gearbox of the EW12 own, that place where the CV joint goes in is much bigger, because the CV joint, the inner CV joint for the EW12J4, no, for the EW12J4 gearbox is bigger. It uses almost the same with the V6. So even the shaft also is bigger than that of EW10. So your EW10J4S engine, I think you remember I worked on EW12J4S engine as well. So, and I've changed the gearbox. In fact, I actually have that gearbox. I have that gearbox. So the shaft that goes in is that of the normal EW10J4. What I mean, not the shaft, the CV joint, the inner CV joint that will enter the gearbox. Oh, yeah, I missed it. The inner CV joint that will enter your manual gearbox for the EW10J4S is identical or almost same with that of EW10J4 manual gearbox. the one that will enter the EW12J4 6-speed manual gearbox is almost the same with the V6, so it's bigger. So what that means is you won't be able to use that your CV joint currently on your car. And then here is the problem. Even if you say, okay, you can still use the CV joint, you can use the EW12J4 bigger CV joint and then attach it on your drive shaft, but it won't be able to enter. I don't think so, because the those those three bearings, the three bearings that that is attached on the drive shaft that now goes into the CV joint. The that of the V6 is bigger. So I don't know. Anything is possible. You have to figure out how to be able to use the CV joint, which is bigger for the EW12J4, so I can be able to enter there to work with the smaller shaft and the smaller three bearing. Those bearings that locally they call it spider over here. Those three bearings that put in, is. And if you say, okay, you put complete, see here is another problem. Because the ideal thing is to get rid of the drive shaft for the EW10J4S and put EW12J4. Number one, the length might be different, because the drive shaft means if it's from 407, let's assume from 407, the drive shaft might be longer. Unless you have to find a way to make it shorter, considering it's C4. C4 is a smaller vehicle. So what now happens then is, what of the engine mount bracket on the right side? Remember that engine mount bracket where there's a bushing that is attached to the cross member. There's a kind of anti-lock bracket too that comes out and attach it. Over here they call it shaft hanger. That's the local name in Nigeria. So that particular this thing, there's a bearing that goes past, that sits inside that engine mount bracket. The bearing of the EW12 on that shaft, EW12 shaft, the bearing is bigger. That the CV, it's not even the shaft, it's the CV joint. So the CV joint on that side that will go into the gearbox from the right side is bigger, and most likely will be longer than your C4 drive shaft. So in that case, the engine mount bracket, which one that can fit on that bigger bearing on that right side CV joint, inner CV joint, which are the engine mount bracket that can be able to fit on EW10J4S and then still work with the C4 clearance, where with the wheel and everything. Considering that the EW10J4S, yeah, you can put the EW12 engine mount bracket there, but will it match the space it has there? Will it be able to fit in there and still work with the wheel on the right side? See, that's what I'm saying. This kind of conversion, it won't be plug and play. So mounting the gearbox might not be a big issue. It's getting the shaft to work with the wheel. That's where the problem is. So the only way to work is if there is a way you can still use. It's going to be difficult, because even if you manage to use the left side CV joint and put EW12 CV joint on the drive shaft of the EW10J4S left side, fine. But what of the right side? Because that right side, the CV joint is longer, the inner one. So you can't, because the EW10J4S shaft is smaller, You won't be able to stay on the pinion, that the gear where the differential gear where you pushing the drive shaft to spin. Everything is possible, but man, it's gonna give you. Here's what I'll tell you. As someone that have driven EW10J4S in 307, I think that manual gearbox is okay for that engine. Yes, I will tell you this, it doesn't produce that much. The manual gearbox, the 6-speed will give you a better torque, because that engine lacks torque. That's the honest truth. Doesn't have much torque. It just uses horsepower mostly. And to be honest, because of that, it tends to consume more fuel, because it's only the horsepower that really push that engine, or it makes the vehicle to get very quick. So not the torque. So that 6-speed would have helped it actually. You don't necessarily need to use the horsepower to push the car to be quick, or use the full engine horsepower. That is it 177 or 180 horsepower? So in that case, yeah, the 6-speed would have made sense. But after driving that 5-speed for the EW10J4S, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. Yeah, I know it will be more. To be honest, I kept wondering why Peugeot didn't produce 6-speed manual for that gearbox. Because at the time they did that, they produced EW10J4S. There was already a 6-speed manual that could match. So I don't know why they didn't put it for that engine. I don't know. Like in 207, no 307. Maybe they felt that 206 might be putting 6-speed on 206 might be too much. Then what of the 307? They probably should have put that 6-speed manual on 307. I don't know why they didn't do that, because they also produce 6-speed manual for 307. 2.0 liter diesel engine, the 46 307 facelifted model. So why would you do it for 2.0 liter engine? Then this engine that is almost like the most powerful, you retain 5-speed on it. So I don't know why. But I'll still say this 5-speed was actually quick. I drove it and I have one. I kept it, though it actually has problems. So even if I will use it, it may have to undergo some repairs. But at least it's okay. As in what I mean, it's usable. Something I can fix before I can use it. So that's what I'm saying. But I'll give you another example. I started a project of 307 with a EW12J4 engine. I started the project and I plan to put a 6-speed manual. So I started it off, started gathering parts, even got a 6-speed manual gear lever for 307. The gear lever assembled for the 6-speed manual, everything. But you know why I suspended it? It's not because I even got the gearbox, the 6-speed manual gearbox, got it and kept. But when I eventually decided to let it go for now, how do I make that those drive shafts, the drive shaft, how do I make it work? And I remember the easiest way to do that is probably to order what's the name of this the 2.0 liter, that T6 I mentioned with 6-speed manual. I have to order the complete drive shaft, the engine mount bracket. That's the easiest way to do that. I had to order, because they don't drive it in Nigeria. So I had to order it from Europe. And you know how heavy drive shafts are. So I considered the cost. I was like, man, I think I may have to take a break here. That is the only way. So maybe you might try that route. I don't know if you stay in Europe. Since you have a C4 VTS, maybe it might make sense for you. So if you have a consider the option of see if you can get a drive shaft, both of them. There's a complete with the CV joint of 2.0 liter. That's the one with 130. Is it 135 or 136 horsepower? Yeah, produced from 2006 to 2008. Just go for that gear. Not necessarily the gearbox. You can still use the gearbox, but because it's diesel, you won't really enjoy it. Yeah, it won't have much. It will be too long. So because it does, I know that it doesn't have hole for engine speed sensor, which can still be created. You can open it up, but my problem is it will be very talky, but the engine power will be useless. The horsepower, because you know how long the manual gearboxes for diesel engines can be. So petrol gearbox meant for petrol cars must serve you much better. So, but at least you need that drive shaft and CV joint. No, not CV. What's it called? Gearbox mount bracket. Where that in the right side inner CV joint sits on before it goes into the gearbox. Once you can get it, the only thing I don't know the length of the drive shaft. Will it match C4? Will it be on that? But maybe you can figure it out. Some people do work on the drive shaft. Either they will increase it or they will reduce it by cutting it. So it's risky though. They say that it can separate when you cut it and weld it. It all depends. There are some blacksmiths that are very good, so anything is possible. Okay, so hope I make sense. I know I was kind of lumbering, but it's not everybody that will enjoy this video. People who are not into conversions or technical like me, and probably you might not. I don't know how technical you are anyway, you know. But if you are not, share this video to your mechanic. You will understand everything I say, you know. Yeah, so you make it easier for you there. For me, if I decide to continue to deactivate or revisit that project, the 307 EW12 J4 project, I'm looking at the option of, that was why I purchased that 5-seat manual gearbox for the EW10J4S. That might be the option I might eventually go for, but I keep wondering, will I really be satisfied? Because I just that 6-speed manual is, if you drive it on just EW10J4, when you drive it on it, you marvel how it transforms EW10J4 engine with little power. The way it makes the car to move with that, because of that gearbox. So that's why you enjoy it if you put it on EW10J4S. You enjoy it because it lacks torque at all. That engine, I don't know. It's good with horsepower, but the torque is useless. So that gearbox will really, really enhance. In fact, you enjoy that car more if you can put the 6-speed. But as far as you can go to the challenges I mentioned. So that's where I'm looking at. Unless maybe I could just close my eye and see if I can order. Just that, will it be worth it? That's all I'm saying. Because for me, it's going to cost way more than I will expect. The shipping cost is where my problem is, not the purchase cost. To buy that drive shaft and the gearbox mount bracket. No, engine mount bracket, the right side, the one under the engine. Okay, so that's all I have. Hopefully it makes sense. Some people may hate this video because everything I'm saying here is maybe too technical for them to comprehend. But those who know will know. Alright, like this video, subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.